Call the meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Water Commission, February 3rd, 2025. Minutes of the January 21st meeting. You had a chance to review them. You had open session and executive session.
Made some change, a couple.
Did you give them to Kevin?
Yep, so this is,
They've all been incorporated. John, did you get a chance?
All set, yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, January 21st.
Yeah.
Second.
For the open session, we're going to both separately.
Yep.
Okay, made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to accept the executive meeting minutes of January 21st.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, we got an extra agenda there. Can't seem to find tonight's.
That's because I stole yours.
Oh, well, explain.
She didn't give me one.
Excuse me, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we have no abatements or refunds to hire. We're gonna go into the next item of business is position of the new water laborer, entry-level water technician, Seth Caetano. Would you come up and... If you don't mind going back through, giving us a brief description of your work experience and desire to become a water technician in West Bridgewater?
So I went through Diamond Regional. I explored most of the hands-on shops. So I have a little bit of knowledge of everything, and I'm good with my hands. I like to, if I have something there, I don't like to not let it sit. I kind of like to just get it done there. I've been in carpentry for most of my line of work. I know knowledge of all basic tools. Not scared of heights, not scared to go in trenches.
You're willing to take classes to go through the licensing process to,
Yeah.
which is what's it's going to be required for you to move up anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Working with people, you don't have a problem with any, any type of trade, any type of job at all? I mean, you briefly described trenches and things like that, heights, you're not a concern about that at all?
No. Usually also with people, I feel like I could fit in no matter what.
Okay.
I just feel like I have a good personality and I can get along with pretty much almost anybody. Yeah.
Dylan?
Any experience with heavy equipment?
Meaning?
Operating heavy equipment?
No.
Okay. That's something to learn, for sure.
Yeah, you learn as you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we're not hiring you as somebody who's experienced. We're hiring you as entry level, and
Right.
hopefully if it works out, you'll get a lot of different experiences and be able to move up. And take, the more you learn, the more responsibility you can take. The more you get paid, the more
Right.
you get to do. Any other questions for us?
If I were to start here, do I come here first?
Yes.
So let's always meet up here?
Yep.
Okay.
We're part of the town, but we're not part of the town.
And you've already got your information from Linda at Town Hall. I
About
believe, about all the benefits and everything else, you're all set with that?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Anything else? I'll accept the motion to hire Seth Catano.
I'll make the motion to hire Mr. Catano for a position available for water technician.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
I'll see you Wednesday night.
Yeah, don't feel, let Wayne know if they give you a change in time or anything.
Just call me anyways to remind me, but
Yeah.
I won't forget.
I back off, right?
Yep.
Go.
Thank you.
Well said, have a good night.
You as
Thank
well.
Thanks, Seth.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Okay, if there's no objections, I want to jump past the 2025 commitment, and since Mr. Hoyt is here,
Yep.
I can give us an update.
Sure. It's been a while, so I have a lot to catch up with. I'll try to not take up too much of your time, but I guess starting with the man-made plant, we think construction's going well overall. They're expecting to be done with the building envelope in the middle of this week, end of this week, and then the trades are going to start coming in. So I think we are tentatively expecting the electrician on site as early as Thursday or Friday to start, and then mechanical will be in behind them. One thing that we are watching carefully is kind of the lead times on some of the vessels. So as I think, Wayne has seen firsthand at the progress meetings, it's been a little bit of a struggle to get timely things from Adage in terms of their submittals. But I do have to give props to, Victor and Barry for turning around those shops within 48 hours every time we got something from Adage, so that we weren't holding up the process. But we are probably looking at being about 16 weeks away from having vessels show up on site. So that's going to be essentially early May. That being said, the green sand media is still on schedule to come the end of February. So speaking with Barry today, they're going to lean on the contractor a little bit to get an updated schedule for you. They've been hesitant to do a beginning to end construction schedule because they kept pointing the finger at Adage, saying, well, how could we possibly build a schedule if we don't know when the major pieces of equipment are going to be on site? But they no longer have that as an excuse. So they told us by the end of this week, and we'll share that with you when it comes in, we'll have a full construction schedule. And then that's when we can really kind of dial in. I know Wayne had a lot of questions and concerns about the timing of shutdowns and transitions, and the specifications are very clear that needs to be, it's a contractor's responsibility to make it work for Wayne. But ultimately, we have to stay on top of the situation to make sure.
Where do we keep the green sand until the vessel's on high?
They have to essentially store it.
It's gonna be empty. I don't know if it'll all fit in.
we do have a nice metal building out there. So that's their responsibility to make sure it's stored and handled appropriately until they're ready for it. So what we're pushing it for them.
We're paying for stored materials, so they'll be.
When it's on site, they can request stored materials. DEP is very strict about it, so we'll fight that battle when we get to it. They will most likely request partial payment when the media is on site.
Can that stuff go bad? I mean, it can
Well,
get.
it can't go, it's something on
Can't
site, so it can
freeze.
be put inside and be warm.
It
So
can't freeze.
you can't, until that building's done, they can't be getting stored material on it. They store it at their shop, we don't pay. So,
That brings me up to we have two streams of funding here. There's the SRF and the ARPA, so we have to make sure that we spend out the ARPA because they've been on our case about not spending it.
That's good to know, because we've been pushing everything so far through SRF.
Right, and and some things go that way, and I'm not sure how much, because I know SRF wouldn't pay for engineering.
Correct.
I believe, so
Yep.
if you know what those dollars are, I know they all came, and they're in notebooks now. But if we know that, and then how much extra is, so that we make sure we spend that out.
All right, so I just shoot you an email with essentially, because I don't have that in front of me, but just
Yep.
clarifying what you have left in engineering, so you can figure out the difference that
Right.
needs to apply to construction.
Yep, and we can do it anywhere. I mean, I know there's gonna be big expenses. To this point, we haven't spent anything. At some point, I'm sure I'm gonna get hit with somebody wanting something. I see the things coming by, but it's just paper shuffling back and forth at this point.
It's a lot of people.
And there's a lot of money out there right now.
And we're harassing you on multiple fronts. So in terms of, we just closed that billing, right? So we'll have our next invoice probably in the next week or so. And that would be that'll be the most up-to-date number there is, right? Because it'll show you, total fee, what we've billed, what we're asking for this month, and then
Yeah,
what's remaining. So that, I'll summarize that when I send that invoice.
all right.
And then we can look at what's left for your ARPA, and then,
Yeah, I can get a dollar number out of them of what's remaining.
okay,
I believe it was down in the 900 and something. last I knew.
Yeah. Well, it's just we're gonna have to communicate that with, you know,
Yeah.
all the parties. Like we're gonna have to let DEP know why all of a sudden there's a, you know, they're not getting requests for funding and all of a sudden the progress jumps up.
Right.
So I think we're gonna have a upfront conversation with them,
But
make
the Clean
sure.
Water Trust sees that side, because that's what they, all those documents that they kept repeatedly asking for us to resubmit.
Oh, right.
So
Are they happy
see
now?
that- I haven't heard it, I didn't know if you had submitted to them.
Okay,
I don't think I got anything on it.
okay. You can check with Katie.
Now, what is the Clean Water Trust? Is that something that we're gonna
That's,
get some forgivable loans?
Yeah, that's
or-
a $3.1 million grant that they've applied, I believe it was 600 and something thousand, oh, actually.
Is that just for Manly Streets and the?
No, it goes across both, they wanted both projects in there, so it was for $658,609 to Manly.
I'm sorry, what was it again?
$658,609.
Okay.
And that's grant to Manly, so the rest will probably be applied to Sierra Norman. But SRF at any point can also do principal forgiveness if they should decide.
Right, so, I mean, how that's being handled is different in Manly versus what we're expecting in Sierra Norman.
Right.
So if you recall, for Manly, they, after the fact, let us all know that they've changed how they were doing it, and they were, for PFAS projects, you were getting interest-free, but the principal forgiveness percentage went down.
To like 3%.
So, right, so in the Sierra Norman case, you know, we don't have the PFAS piece, so it would be the full principal forgiveness, the full, what was it, 6.6%.
Yeah, because I think the 3% out of Manly was like 120,000. It wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to have a conversation with DEP then and make sure, because I don't think we listed ARPA on the reimbursement form as an alternate source, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, because, well, the Clean Water Trust, it sounded like somebody there sat on the SRF. But somehow they were communicating back and
Yeah.
forth. That's why I was kind of getting confused with the two parties. I'm like, all right, does one not know what the other, but they made it clear that they do know it.
Yeah, they do know, because we were on that call with them,
Right.
and they were aware.
Yep.
And the way we structured that, which is why I'm sure we did it, because I've seen the table, where we restructured it so that we included all of the projects that weren't eligible under the SRF program, right?
Right.
So reimbursement for your PFAS testing.
Yep.
That you did the demonstration study. Some of these things that are explicitly, not allowed under the SRF program, we included. And then it also included some engineering for Sierra Norman, because again, it's eligible there without having to incur the extras that SRF would, like, disadvantage
Yes.
minority and women-owned businesses, for example.
Yep.
That requirement doesn't apply to this grant. It only applies to SRF. So, as you know, you've elected not to take SRF funds for the engineering to save that, the additional cost of administering the SRF portion. So that's a really good item to get reimbursed through the grant for, because, it's just, takes money off the top without any additional requirements on your end. So I'll check on the status, but I know we updated it.
I know they sent out a letter with the
Conversation.
thing saying, so I knew they must have gotten something
Yeah.
because they were really not doing anything and they kept poking. And
Okay.
then I didn't hear from them anymore.
All right. So I was circling back to Manly, so that's kind of the construction update. At our next progress meeting, they'll owe us a schedule, so we can really start kind of planning those shutdowns.
Now, should I ask them at the construction meeting, like, looking at the piping in the backside of the plant where the hydrant and stuff is going, there are no flow arrows, so it's kind of hard to decide what's happening there. Should I ask them what's going on in there?
Yeah, or, at any time you can talk to Derek too, if he's on site, or you can
All right.
call me or Barry.
Yep.
Are we talking buried pipe? Are you talking?
Yeah, it's how it's going back towards the plant. I'm not sure where the finished water is connecting up. I wanna make sure that the hydrant does what we want it to do. Because right now, when we shut off we can't start the plant with the plant isolated from the street, because we shut off the water to the plant and then it sends it into a backwash.
Right.
So we do it really fast, somebody communicating with hand signals across the street, and hopefully a couple semis don't go by in between.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to make sure that whatever happened, I mean, if I have to kick in valves to make sure that it happens that way, that's okay, and whatever else occurs, but it's just, when it gets back there, it's not crystal clear.
Okay, understood. Yeah. Maybe what we'll do is go over to the plant after the progress meeting and walk through it.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I mean, I have the drawings right here, I pulled them out, so the last time I think we were here, I couldn't find them, but
Oh, okay. I mean, if we can do it easily looking at the plans, we'll do so. If not, we'll take a drive over,
Yep.
get it sorted out. So then the other piece at Manly is the short-term demonstration study. So we did do the backwash. The numbers came down lower, but they're not back to non-detect.
Right.
So I know you were hoping to go back to quarterly sampling, but I think we're gonna have to ask you to continue gathering more data for us. So
Alright.
there's two reasons. So the first is continuing to build confidence in the ability of the media to do the job. So I think for this next,
For February, when you would normally take your February sample, we'd ask that you sample at the 25, 50, and 75 ports. And I know, it hurts me to ask because I know it's not cheap, as well as in the finished, so that we can see, since it didn't go down to non-detect, are we still seeing that progression through the media, which would indicate that we've used up media, or is it now all mixed up, and even though we've backwashed and we reset the bed, and the observation they had was they did a really good job fluidizing the bed, so they'd expect any of the previous stratification to be gone now. So if we run it through and the levels are kind of the same at every port, then that tells us that through that period of running it with the fouled media, we've reduced its capacity. That's what we're seeing. But if we're seeing, progression through, that might be an indication that this is more likely to be actual breakthrough of PFAS as opposed to just diminished performance of the media. So, and really we need the data to send it back to Adage so that they can weigh in.
I'll order the bottles tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll sample as quickly as we can.
And so then we can maybe play it by
tells you-
ear from there.
Do they have a feeling that maybe the iron and the manganese fouled the media so that it can't do its collection and, it can't attract the PFAS out of it?
I mean, that's one of the working theories, right? Is that, we essentially have fouled up the media so that it's no longer performing correctly. The other alternative.
By the breakthrough, was that?
So yeah, two different things, right? So if we think about it from its capacity to treat PFAS, we talk about activation sites. So we like when I present to third graders, I talk about like an apartment complex, and there are all these apartments available. And as PFAS come to live there, they take up the activation sites, and then when it's full, there's nothing more to take up. So when I say the media is truly being used up, that means
These little grains of, that's the media.
yeah. So essentially that media no longer has the capacity to remove PFAS from the incoming water. That would be for us unfortunate, because that would indicate that it was the PFAS that used up the capacity, and we're meeting the limit of 20, but we're not meeting the future limit of 4, so your media replacement would have to happen, before, the number of beds we've had to date.
Does that mean that the system wasn't sized large enough to handle it from 20 to 4?
Well, it mean the media.
It would mean-
Not doing what the media is supposed to.
It means the media is effectively removing PFAS, but the media life is much shorter than we'd expect. And from an economic standpoint, it could mean that you're replacing media more frequently than we want, which is increased O&M cost. In which case, we wouldn't just, say, okay, I guess that stinks, we're gonna pay more money, we'd wanna see if there's a media that's more cost effective. So the other scenario is that, the PFAS can't get into the empty apartments because they're essentially engulfed with iron or partially blocked by iron or other things.
We've got 5-foot snowdrift in front of us.
Yeah, or chemically speaking, they've lost their ability to attract the PFAS to the apartments.
Adage has theorized the latter, that, because the performance of the upstream system wasn't to, their ideal specifications, that we have, foul media. The hope was that a backwash would have been enough to remove that threat, and essentially leave the media back. But, where the number is lower but not zero, it kind of puts us in a weird spot where, it's hard to draw any conclusions from one number.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Don? That's Adage, they're the manufacturer of the material. I mean, how do you feel about that? Is that correct? Is that saying that their material isn't doing the job properly, or how do we figure out here?
Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you today with any significant level of confidence that I'm 100% sure it's one way or the other. I do think what Adage has brought to the table has made sense along the way. I don't have any reason to think it's completely fabricated, but we can't just take them at the word. We need data to back it up. So unfortunately, PFAS tests are expensive. They take a while to come in. But I think we sadly need more data. And then we have to get Adage back involved and then kind of go from there. Because we're about to fill.
But what do we have how do we verify that Adage's material is actually doing its job?
The only way would be to take out the fouled media and put in fresh media and then run again.
Yeah, so from their perspective, the first step is going to be improving the Green Sand Plus system, which is happening anyway, right? The media is coming in the end of February. We're converting over to hypochlorite for oxidation, getting away from the MIAX, right?
MIOX, yep.
So to get away from the MIOX and get away from the permanganate. So, that in their opinion is step one. So the challenge then becomes, what, if anything, can we conclude with the media that's in that vessel? And if it's nothing, then we have to decide whether it's worth the expense and effort to buy just a little media, put it in that temporary vessel, or if we just move to full scale and kind of test it in real time and, maybe back to doing some pilot testing if the full scale, goes too quick.
Well, we're still ahead of 2029, but we don't want to be throwing away thousands of dollars of media either.
Agreed.
There's no way to take samples of that media that's in there now, and they can't do some kind of a microscopic analysis on it to tell if it is in fact coated with.
So we did do that, and they do technically still owe us a technical report on that. So I would be interested to see, kind of now that we see a backwash alone didn't fix it, what their perspective is. We just haven't engaged Adage at this point. We got the data from Wayne last week. Initially, I think internally we thought it was the December data. We didn't realize that we skipped December. So, we're still kind of digesting this information and have yet to get Adage on the phone and get their take on it.
But if they have actually looked at the actual media, they regardless of what those samples said, they should be able to tell you if it looks like that media is impaired or if it should be functioning fully, right? I mean, that's,
yeah,
that would be independent of what the results of the testing that we just did are.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if they went so far as to take any of that media and test its ability for PFAS removal. I do know that they've done an inspection and then they've done a chemical analysis of what's there. But to your point, I don't know if they've tested the performance of the media.
Because, you know, if we're buying a lot of media from them, it would be nice for them to be able to show that, yeah, no, there's gotta be a way to indicate, besides guessing based on the test results, if that media looks like it's like it's good, or if there was something that we can, would be from when we were running the plant, if we dumped something in there that shouldn't have necessarily gotten into the media, and that's occluded the surfaces, that's, you know, that's an answer, that means that shouldn't happen in the full scale.
Right.
But to try to go to a large scale pilot again, and then, or worse yet, put those things in full tanks and run full scale and find out that it was their media, and it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, there's a lot of money to put at risk.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that. So we have some work to do before we can kind of advise the next step, but the first thing we need is more data.
What was the difference between how we're operating now and the pilot study? Like, why didn't this impact the pilot?
I mean, it's a fair question because the pilot did use plant effluent. So I don't really know, right? So we suspect that could have been related to the backwash cycle. And if that's the case, that wouldn't have been picked up in the pilot, right? Because we weren't backwashing, you know, it was kind of a side stream operation. So when you were backwashing green sand filters, it wasn't directly, you know, tied in. So it could just be that theory we have when we came out and did, I think if you recall, I came and showed you all the pictures and how we were still getting really black water at the tail of that backwash cycle. So if it truly is was coming from that part, then it wouldn't have been picked up by the pilot study. So, but you're right, if it was gradually accumulating based on, you know, carryover of iron manganese through the green sand media, it should have, you know, popped up in the pilot. So, to be seen.
So no answer.
Well, did they pilot PFAS up there?
Yeah.
All right, I didn't remember.
Yeah, we had to. DEP wouldn't let us get away with it.
Because I thought that's why we were piloting ourselves with the temporary set.
The temporary site.
The PFAS filter we're currently running off of. I thought that's why I was doing all that pilot study, or maybe they just, am I gonna get wet?
Oh, our demonstration study?
Yeah. Because they weren't there that long, they were only there about a week. They weren't there very long.
Okay. Trying to remember back now, 'cause that was two years ago.
I think the idea was to go piloting it to see if the media looked like it was going to work, and then we were gonna put it into that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Well, I think that's what
we
you were
never
trying-
put that water through carbon or ion exchange.
Right, I thought that's when you were
Yeah.
determining whether it would be biological or we could change, or... I don't think they piloted PFAS.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we piloted specifically the chemical changeover, not the
Right.
PFAS. You're right. Yeah, and that was kind of the risk we all knew we were running by, you know, building the full scale before the short scale was
Right.
done. Was, you know, the data was just starting to come in around the time we were going out to bid. Nobody, I think, expected it to be off, you know, the lifespan to be off by an order of magnitude.
Right.
So that, you know, still gives us some, you know, expectation that what's going wrong is some mechanism beyond just the, you know, media life being an order of magnitude off. But I think everybody would love to see that be proofed out before
Yeah.
we fill all those media, all those new vessels with media.
I feel like even if the media is becoming used up, you're still gonna see drop at the ports at each section, right? You wouldn't ever really see it all be the same unless it was completely used up.
Yeah, which is what I think we will see. I think if we see the PFAS is the same at all the ports, that would lead me more towards thinking the media as a whole has had its performance diminished, as opposed to the media as a whole is being used up by PFAS, right? Because if we're seeing breakthrough, we would expect the media at the top, to have, more of it used up than the media at the bottom, right? So if we see that the PFAS levels are, high at 25% port, medium at 50%, then lower, then that means we are seeing a movement of that mass balance zone, where the PFAS is being removed. Whereas if the numbers are all pretty tight, then it could just be that all of the media is having their performance degraded by, I think poisoned is the term adage I've thrown out there at one point.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of giving you guys the information that you guys need as far as testing, but it is expensive. And if they owe us a report on the media itself, I feel like we should hold them to that and see what they have to say for themselves,
Yeah, agreed.
without us having to do all the legwork and all the financing.
Yeah, I would agree. And I know, Anthony from our office has been, not shy to pick up the phone and tell them what's up. We did have to send in one nasty gram when we weren't getting what we needed from adage on this other plan. We reminded them that, Sear Norman was coming up. And eventually you guys would like to add PFAS to that plant. It'd be, too bad if we weren't able to consider Floresville for that plant, right? So, we're not afraid to hold their feet to the fire if we need to.
Do we have to accept that shipment of media if we haven't got the reports back?
So the one that's coming is with the green sand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so not the PFAS.
Okay.
You didn't see the emails, but I was prodding them to move faster before we hit the summer months
Right.
on several issues. And, and it's all up to how the contractors decided to set a schedule.
Yeah, and what we're pushing for too is to see if they have everything they need to do the chemical switch over. I don't know if it would be worthwhile to have a conversation with DEP and see if we can kind of double up those
Like
activities so you're not.
the well cleaning and the well changeover in the VFDs, that doesn't affect anything. It doesn't require much testing except for bacteria tests to get me back up and running. When you change to chemicals, that's when they're gonna want like a sanitary suit. They wanna come through and do. It doesn't take that long, but they sit on it for a while looking at it and have their meetings for review. So yeah, the chemical change is probably the biggest one. That and the green sander, they might require me to pull like arsenic tests, and I forget what other ones they had me pull before they would let me run off of the PFAS filter.
Right, so that's what we want to talk to them about, make sure we can just do that all at once, not have, right, because I would hate to.
If
put the
it
meeting
keeps
in
me
and
up and
3 weeks
running,
later.
if it keeps me up and running though, it's the Miox is not as strong as chlorine, so, and that'll require a change for how we're dosing as we go in.
Yeah, that's the bigger change, honestly.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else on manual? Okay, plenty. So then Sear Norman, as you recall from last time, kind of our main focus over the last couple of months has been the EIR, which is the permitting through MIPA, and then coordinating with our subs. So our process design at this point we call, about 90%, but we're kind of in a holding pattern until we get the rest of the information from our subs, because then we have to do kind of conflict resolution. We have to make sure there's no, conflicts between, all the different trades in the design. So, and then we do a QA/QC of all of their work products and send that back for edits. So that's kind of the process that we're in now, is our subs were required to get to like a 50% design so they could give us a cost estimate.
So I do have the cost estimate, which I'll hand out as well. So, they all had to progress their designs far enough that they could do an accurate cost estimate. So that I can present you with our 90% cost estimate, and with the understanding being like the process is 90%, but the trades are at 50%. And then we've been meeting pretty regularly with MIPA. So we were assigned an agent, Alex, and he's been very helpful through the process. But we did submit back in December. We just recently, 2 weeks ago, had to do a supplemental package. So, initially we submitted the EE&F, we submitted our proposed EIR. We put in a supplemental package to address the first round of feedback that came from MIPA internally. So that package included an additional look at the stormwater. So we did our stormwater design, we did a stormwater evaluation of HydroCAD, then we did a stormwater report, and all of that goes into the MIPA package. Well, we did that based on the typical standards that we always do, for if we were, say, submitting to Mass DEP or COMCOM. MIPA uses a very specific set of precipitation data, so they essentially just asked us to check, based on their precipitation data, that our design was okay, and it was fine, right? But we did have to go through and, use this storm, which was, a little different than the storm we used, but called something different. Kind of rerun the HydroCAD, confirm that the design, had enough wiggle room that, we could accommodate, their design storm as well. And then we had to respond to some concerns about climate resiliency. So, they're concerned about...
What's climate resiliency?
So...
Or is it what I think it is?
No, it's what you think it is. So essentially, we don't have any flooding, right? Which is usually the biggest thing they look at. There's no concern about that, but they're concerned about temperature rise of the atmosphere because we're removing trees. So we had to do kind of an evaluation of that.
Do we have to buy green credits?
No, so what we promised them on your behalf, essentially just the typical construction mitigation that, if we have to over excavate for the ease of construction, those areas would be restored back to green spaces. And we said that we would work with you to evaluate if there are other places on the property we could plant some trees.
We got 1 million trees out there on 100 acres of land that we own. We're worried about replacing half a dozen trees?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, why not?
So, I mean, we left it intentionally that vague. So when we go through our plans with you at 90%, we can identify, we can't put too many trees back up there, but, if we can plant a couple Christmas trees kind of between the woods and, well 1 and 1A, maybe we can plant some Christmas trees back there.
Yeah. And what's that gonna cost us, $100,000?
No.
We got 90 billion
We
wrong,
can
right?
probably do that ourselves,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's keeping the deer from eating them.
Yeah.
So again, like we said, we didn't promise anything. We said we'd look into it.
I looked into it, I think we're good.
There you go.
We have a lot of trees back there.
My God.
Yeah. So I mean, they did. So we had a public meeting a week from today, and the only people who showed up were MIPA, DEP, DCR.
This is the one we had to do because of the Brockland proximity? Or
So it was everything, right? So this was anybody who it was a virtual site visit.
DCR,
Yeah.
Commission for Recreation.
Yeah, they,
Virtual
again,
site visit.
once they heard that there was no flood plan, I saw her just drop off the call. She was there for the first, 2/3 of it and was, I think, satisfied. So I will say, the good news is everybody seems to be on board with the project. We haven't gotten any pushback. We've had multiple opportunities for the public to either request a meeting or attend a public meeting. None of them have. As far as we can tell, nobody outside of the Massachusetts agencies has commented or provided feedback or expressed concerns at this point.
No, they've justified their jobs, they've already been here.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I understand. It's
You
frustrating.
know what's frustrating is that we gotta spend all this money to remove the material out of the water that they're requiring us to do. They show up to the meetings, now we gotta plant trees because we're gonna move half a dozen trees to build our plant that they're requiring us to take the iron and manganese out of the water.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Fruit trees, I want fruit trees.
From now on, decaf.
So, yeah, I think it's working to our advantage that the project is a slam dunk. Alex had said off the record, essentially, that he thinks this is a really good candidate to get the rollover approved. And honestly, this whole situation is unfortunate, right? I'm not trying to say that this hasn't been, an unfortunate thing to have to go through, but the worst case would have been we don't get the rollover, then we have to go to a single, and if we don't get the single, we have to do a full one, and we lose another 40 to 60 days of public comment, right? So that was the worst case. We feel pretty confident that's at least not heading that way. We're a little unsure what we're gonna hear from them in February, because technically by the letter of the law, we would be expecting a decision on February 14th. And that would, in our interpretation, that would mean they would say, yes, we're approving a rollover. We're going to run an advertisement telling people the rollover was approved. At the end of 30 days, we have the certificate. Alex sent an email that said on the 12th, his certificate is due. So we're unsure on the 14th whether we're getting a decision or a certificate. Either case works for our schedule. If we get a certificate on the 13th, that's actually ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
They're gonna review it in one day?
So a week before that, so it's today. So yeah, they essentially, a week before that, so a week before the 12th is what, the 6th, 7th?
Basically this weekend.
So I think the public period ends, then there's a 1 week MEPA review. So MEPA essentially has 1 week to pull everything they've got together. I was on the phone with Alex today, he's already writing it all up. So I think he's on schedule to do so. So unless I think anyone comes out of the woodwork this week.
It helps if there's no public comments, it makes things go through.
Yes.
And again, we did everything for the environmental justice along the way. We even did the one additional optional step because the EJ coordinator thought it would be good to go, above the minimum requirement. And still nobody reached out or showed any interest. So I think, is there any wood around? Knock on wood, someone had some it for me. We're expecting little to no pushback on it. No reason to think that they won't grant the rollover, and then kind of it is what it is. So with that, I do have a construction schedule, and then
We can talk about financing? Do we have any interest-free loans, or do we have any?
we're going to talk about
the number. All right, got it.
funding. So I have two tables. One is the construction estimate, and then the second is a finance document that Wayne had asked me to prepare.
Is this pre or post tariff cost estimate?
It's on
It's on hold. It's on hold for 30 days. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, half the cost.
The aeration tower, what does that save us from? Deep.
KOH, it removes dependency on KOH.
Okay.
And I believe it removes some iron and manganese
We're looking at it for the savings in the
for KOH.
chemical, KOH.
All right, so looking at the big one first, I mean, certainly you can go through any items that you have questions on. But the takeaway here is, as you know, our original cost estimate was $10.7 million. When we came to you at 30%, we had a bunch of, you know, a menu, if you will, of things we could add or not add. At that time, we had decided to add the aeration, and we had decided to make the building larger to allow for expansion for PFAS. And at that point, we'd come in just under 13 million. And today I'm obviously coming in just over 14 million. So I want to explain kind of the thought process and a couple of the items that went up. And so I think the big picture thing is that, you know, often what we'll do is, you know, aim to sharpen our pencil as we get further down. Unfortunately, the industry as a whole is feeling very nervous right now about pricing for this summer. There's also been a lot of talk at DEP in terms of the appropriations being adequate to cover. And the situation we're in is we're going in for this town meeting, and we need to appropriate, as far as DEP is concerned, before we can award this project, there needs to be an appropriation that is equal to or greater than the cost of construction and the construction engineering. So, you know, design was previously funded, so that satisfies that. But we really only have one shot at this, because if this goes and gets appropriated, and we sharpened our pencils and told you it was going to be 13.5 million, and the project comes in at 14, DEP will not allow us to approve the award the project, and we lose the SRF funding. Or at the very least, we are jeopardizing the principal forgiveness. So understanding kind of, you know, the timing of this money becoming available, us going up to bid and having about, you know, 30 days to get this awarded. If we find out 30 days before the award period that we don't have enough, we're putting you in an awkward position where you have to go to an emergency town meeting 3 months after you just appropriated money. So, you know, we feel like it would be doing you a disservice to come in with a number that was not what we thought was the right number with a little bit of wiggle room. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, well, everybody's building plants because they've instituted these laws and, you know, they jumped on everybody to come get to these levels of chemicals. And now everybody's building plants, so you've just made everybody that everybody's gonna hire busy, so all their numbers are going up.
Right, and then just, you know, reading the tea leaves, you know, we all saw the IUP, we didn't get on, it was so competitive this year that, you know, the project that, you know, we got on easily with at Manly, you know, this is what we applied for Sierra Norman, is pretty similar in terms of, you know, an application, and you know, there, you know, our score was down here and the cutoff was here, and there were only 11 new projects awarded for all of SRF for the next calendar.
But what are we looking at for debt forgiveness? Are we looking at another 3%? You know, we're looking at
So,
a significant amount of money.
Yeah, 6.6.
6.6%.
Yep.
6.6% of $18 million is what? $700,000. So if we don't approve this at town meeting, we're looking at maybe an additional $7 million, or roll the dice and see what happens in the long run if these numbers, things change. That's what we're looking at, roughly, 700,000 or 800,000?
But the principal forgiveness is a big thing too. It's not, it's,
I mean, it's right. I mean, the benefits of the SRF project are the lower interest rates, and then the principal forgiveness.
I'm just saying that the town's facing a significant amount of money in the next few months in terms of schools and all this other stuff. And this is a lot of money for us right now, and if it doesn't pass a town meeting floor, that's my concern. If
if it doesn't pass, we don't have the appropriation, then, you know, we're gonna have to wait until the funds are available, and by then I think the, you know, SRF funding is gone. So then you would lose the benefit of the lower interest and principal forgiveness. So I guess just to kind of, I indicated some things went up. So the first one is the vessels. We've gotten pricing from, for the vessels back to preliminary design. As we're doing our due diligence, we get new pricing at the 90% cost estimate, because this is like our last crack at it. And there are two things. One, pricing went up, but also we're at a higher pressure rating now than we anticipated during preliminary. So based on just the pressure we're anticipating in the vessels, we had to just step up a class. That drove up the price of those vessels a little bit. And then the other one that came in, was electrical. In our 30% cost estimate, we were estimating around 10% of the cost, just based on, all these plans we've done. That's usually a pretty good barometer. However, as the price has gone up, 10% is more, right? So, our electrical cost has gone from, just over $1 million in our first estimate to 1.7 million today. And that does include a $100,000 allowance for a utility connection. So that'll be a separate line item. It'll be an allowance. You'll pay what it actually costs from the utility to come in, but we just carry $100,000 for that. And then we have we carry some costs for mobilization, and then what we've done now for 90% is we bring this to the midpoint of construction. Right, so when we look at our costs, you see an escalation down here. Essentially, that's to acknowledge that we're planning to award the project in spring, summer of 2025, but construction is going to continue through 25 into 26 and probably through most of 2026. So when contractors are doing their pricing, oftentimes they are projecting out, what their total cost of the project is. So we do what we call, a midpoint of construction escalation. So we look at what the, inflation trend has been, and then assume, what the escalation would be to the midpoint. Again, to make sure we're not pricing it at today's dollars. Your bids come in at tomorrow's dollars, and we've undershot it on you.
Have you included tariffs?
We've not included tariffs.
So is the inflation rate 9.3% or 2.4, which is what we're at now? Last year was 9.3 or whatever.
Yeah, so I think we did it at, we were doing it at an
5.
annual of 6%, and it was
6.
prorated. Right, so it's prorated to the midpoint.
And we don't have Buy American, Build American.
So, right, we have AIS, but no BABA, you're right. Which, not everyone is so lucky. If everyone who is doing PFAS projects, a portion of the SRF funding was coming from a federal source, so they were required to do BABA. And some items were seeing a price escalation of up to 25%.
I was just gonna ask you, what you think that would take as far as an increase in the price? if you
Yeah, so
had
any items that, typically aren't under AIS but are under BABA, those items would all go up by as much as 25%. So over the, add all of those up, it can cause your project costs to go up, 5, 10, 15%, depending on how much of it is non-steel BABA items, right? So we did. That was the one thing we got lucky on. Everything else we've gotten the short end of the stick, but that one we dodged. So, any questions on this before I go into the overall big picture costs?
You mean the 14 million is not enough?
Well, we're saying we came in here with 14.4, even though we knew it was not going to be a popular number, because we'd be doing you a disservice if we, sharpened our pencils and didn't ask.
Fire away,
Fair
James.
enough.
Yep,
So-
keep going.
So this next one is just, Wayne asked us to kind of paint a picture of what it looks like going forward. Part of it is the appropriation you need to go for, then the rest is, Wayne wanted to have information on what else is coming around So the top piece is the Sierra Norman Iron Manganese Water Treatment Plant. So you can see the $14.4 million construction. We're carrying a 10% contingency, again, because we can't afford to undershoot it. You know, we would typically be able to reduce that down to like a 5% contingency in the later stages or at construction, when bids are opened. So our hope is that that's $1.4 million that's appropriated that you don't have to spend, or is actually there in case something comes up during construction. But it has the dual benefit of giving you a little wiggle room, because DEP absolutely will not let you award if the appropriation's not there. So it's, you know, kind of an insurance policy two ways. And then the MEPA EIR environmental justice is going to be included in the amendment for the CARPR. So when you pull all of that together, it's the 16.9 million, which 10.7 has been previously appropriated. So the additional appropriation, is the 6.16.
So the 35,000 and the 991, basically your fees through through the stuff you've already done,
Yeah.
related to permitting, and then during construction work items.
Right. And that is work that at least qualifies for that emerging contaminant grant.
Mm-hmm.
So at least, it's a lot of money. I'm not going to pretend it's not a lot of money, but at least, some of that cost is offset, by grant, which is better than, the loan you have to pay back at least.
But you still have to appropriate it first.
Yes. Yeah. We are aware that that's, a lot to ask for at town meeting. We're sensitive to that, especially, if you're at 11 million and now you're asking for 6 million, we understand that's a large percentage increase, but I would just, kind of echo the talking points of, the additional costs that came through, efficient design, the long-term, cost benefits of doing the KOH. It's less money you're going to spend when you ultimately have to go to PFAS treatment. So, there were prudent decisions that were made after you requested that $10.7 million that increased the cost. And, it's going to pay off in the long run, in terms of, chemical use. I don't think chemical prices are anticipated to go down any day soon, right? So,
Ever.
How much more are we looking if we were to go PFAS now? If we had,
so that's actually, I think, the middle item.
is that
So,
what that means?
so the Sierra Norman Iron Manganese PFAS, I
But
missed
it's
the water
iron
treatment plant.
manganese as well, so it's,
Sorry, I was calling it the Sierra Norman Iron Manganese Water Treatment Facility, PFAS.
so is it iron manganese and PFAS or just iron
No, I
manganese?
just made this as confusing as possible, I apologize. So just pretend there's a WTF between manganese and PFAS. Sure, there's a lot of WTFs.
There is.
Yeah, I know.
I get it.
That's confusing, I'm sorry. So this middle section is to add PFAS to the Sierra Norman Iron and Manganese plant.
Got it.
So it includes piloting, design, construction, and RPR. And again, this is what, I don't remember exactly the number, but we did that analysis, right, for the construction. Because we've done the legwork and we're just doing the filters and some piping, that's why it came in at the 2.7.
Because we've
cost
already
estimate.
done the building and the rest.
And it was it was gonna be well over $4 million if we had just ignored PFAS and had to add it later. So, there's some savings there. And again, it includes the engineering. And then the final number, Wayne, is budgetary only. We weren't able to get any firm quotes at this time. But just looking back at, similar, like looking at what it costs us to reconfigure for the short term,
Right.
and then looking what it's cost to get some green sand media, that's kind of where we just kind of ballparked, cost for you if you wanted to then convert that fourth vessel back over to iron manganese. We're hopeful that when you go to the Green Sand Plus and you go to the, enhanced oxidation you're getting from the hypo, that, a lot of your performance concerns will be addressed. But we know that ultimately that last vessel was originally intended to be, green sand. So we just wanted to kind of throw a big picture budgetary cost together for you so you can see what that might cost to convert it back.
And there's nothing sitting out there for funding money, grant or something that would
So
apply to that.
Yeah, so we applied for, the SRF app, that just went for the middle one.
Yeah.
It didn't get selected. We could resubmit next year. We can resubmit every year until we either get it or come up. We have till, 2029. I think at one point, I remember being here, we were kind of weighing the pros and cons of like just get PFAS done now versus, spreading it out for rates. And I think the last rate study we did showed us, kind of going into design, or was it going into construction the beginning of 2027, which would mean, at some point in 2026, we'd have to get the ball rolling on, the design.
Are there any other grants available anywhere else is there anybody besides the state that's questionable about grants, and is there anything else out there? Anywhere in
It's
the...
something we have to monitor because, from the federal perspective, I think there's a lot of concern that the federal funding is going to decrease.
Well, if the federal funding is going to be decreasing, so is the state funding.
So then we kind of been more reliant on the state funding.
Oh, great.
Because it was the federal that dumped it into the state.
Yeah, right. So yeah, a lot of the funds that SRF was able to use was actually being provided through federal programs.
To build, yeah.
Which is why, I think your project over at Manly has the
Giant sign.
infrastructure project sign, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great.
The money is getting tighter,
Yeah.
as evident by the 2025 IUP with only 11 projects, because there are 21 recurring multi-year treatment plant projects, because to Wayne's point, everyone is constructing treatment
Well, when they
plants.
changed the rules to make everybody need to treat, everyone has to
Everyone
construct
has-
treatment plants.
yeah,
Right. Could have planned for
Exactly,
that, for
and
their funding.
there's limited contractors to construct, so it's very competitive. Everyone needs to be awarded by June 30th, so it's not even like you can sprinkle them out over, a year, put them out to bid, because everyone wants to obviously award by the June 30th date to get the principal forgiveness. And we've heard from the state, they have no more money for this round to give, the 2024, so they can only commit to giving you what they said, where in years past, we were able to say, well, this came in a little higher, we have the appropriation, can you give it to us? But they're not expecting to have any extra.
Never again. They won't have any more money.
It's been, they don't know. Honestly, I don't think anyone really knows
No, they
how
don't.
it's gonna go.
I don't think in 4 years we're not gonna see it.
Priorities, that's the problem.
So do you think they'll increase for what because we only told them 10.7.
So originally, we were very optimistic they would. Right now, we just don't know. The things feel pessimistic.
But if it's less and less likely that funding's gonna be available, chasing that principal forgiveness is kind of a big deal.
It's kind of a big
Yeah.
deal right now, yeah.
How does that work, the principal forgiveness? After a certain amount of time, the principal falls off, or how's...
I don't
Yeah, I don't remember the paperwork we got on.
It kind of alluded that they could just decide arbitrarily any point along the way to forgive some amount of the loan. I think
it's
that's
a
kind of what I
reimbursement. It
read.
doesn't come off the top,
Right.
as far as I'm aware. The actual
So
mechanism.
you probably pay off so much of the principal and then you reach that point and they don't make you pay any more principal.
Well, they'll tell you up front. It was very vague. It's
Yeah.
like.
Well, right, we didn't
and
know
it-
until they were asking us to sign documentation what the forgiveness was gonna come in at for Manly, right? We
Yeah.
kept asking, and
I'm
then
just curious, has any community said, no, we're not doing this in the state?
said, no, we're not doing it.
Like, yeah. I mean, with the MBTA communities, housing thing, is anybody that said, no, we can't afford this? Has anybody said that? Has anybody fought it, taken it to court? I'm just curious, not that it really
I haven't
matters.
heard
I haven't heard of any.
You know, because if you were out of compliance, I mean, you saw, we got that one hit over 21 and we were putting in non-compliance and you had all these,
Nobody likes getting
orders.
those letters.
Yeah.
And when it comes to it, if you're gonna tell people, the state's telling people it's not safe, and you're gonna tell them, well, we're gonna give it to you anyway.
Right.
It's kind of a tough sell.
But, I mean, if funding really is more scarce, then you're gonna see more communities that are probably struggling to fund.
Well, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
That's what it comes down to. There's only, the pot of money is so big, and again, the burden goes on the taxpayer and the ratepayer that has to pick up the tab for another unfunded mandate. I mean, climate change, we got snow out there today, so. Not that we're not supposed to have it in the beginning of February.
Yeah, look how fast it melted.
It doesn't matter, it still gets snow. I just see a parallel here between the MBTA Communities Act and this stuff, where the communities are finally, I'm assuming some communities are gonna say, enough is enough. I mean, town of West Bridgewater, 7,700 people, we gotta come up with $20 million to approve a chemical or something in the water that we,
yeah,
We didn't put that.
Yeah.
right, yeah. No, it's
Well,
tough.
it's huge.
we should be getting a chunk of money eventually, and I think it's getting closer on the, from the lawsuits.
Oh,
Right.
The three, I saw something not that long ago. One of those was about set, and then I guess they're pulling in some of the other manufacturers. And
Yeah, 'cause
that
somebody
will
else
help whenever we find out what exactly we're gonna get on, that's the
Yeah.
problem. That's never been a guarantee on how much, but if that money comes in, that should be, take a good chunk off of what we have to deal with here. Basically, we have to chase any dime we can get
Yeah.
to keep it off the rates. That's all we can do. You can't just keep running it if you're not in compliance. I mean, guy with a license isn't getting a lot of trouble for doing that. I'm serious, I mean, you can't just let the stuff go in if it's not meeting the regulations.
If they tell
We
you-
don't have an alternate source really, we've questioned about it a little bit for looking to places, but there really isn't something that's gonna, even with what we're looking at, we can look again, but the rates are still gonna be going way up to meet that. And our system isn't set up to take any
Right.
water from anywhere else. So,
And even looking for something else, another source, there could be PFAS there, it's likely.
anywhere we're pumping around here, you're gonna hit
Yeah.
PFAS, you're gonna hit iron manganese, I mean,
Excuse me.
the way all the regulations are changed, you have to treat it now. You
Yeah.
can't just poke a hole in the ground and pump it in and, maybe squirt some phosphate in, try to take care of it, so. We have to kind of go forward with what we can go forward with and try to get what we
Like the
can for
bullet.
money to, try to take the burden off a little bit. But gonna give us a little bit of update on the rates that you had projected before based on these numbers?
I could do that.
Just a quick one to see what
Okay.
the change is, if you don't mind.
Good point.
Because that question will come up.
And with respect to reapplying, we say reapply every year with it, we'll just keep resubmitting the PFAS.
You just take a shot.
Right.
Just take it doesn't hurt to take a shot at it, because you never know when the floodgates are gonna open, you just don't know, we know everyone's treating, but it's
If they have a
minimal
number,
effort to
maybe
try.
our number is small enough to fit into their big number.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
smaller systems, they do have to fund smaller, so some of them do move up, just to meet the small system percentage that they need to send the funds to. We actually had one on the 2025 that got popped up because they were luckily a small system. So it's possible, you know.
Well, you don't get much smaller than West Bridgewater, so,
Yeah.
you know, push that angle.
Yeah. But we always say if there's money, apply for it, it doesn't hurt.
Yep. No, it's, I mean, anything we can do to get some money that doesn't go to the ratepayer. That's
Yeah.
all. So if you hear of any other new programs coming up, not that there's gonna be, but yeah, anything we can apply for, keep it going.
All right, okay.
If you're buying an electric vehicle, they're funding that. They just popped out one for that one.
Well, just something, so on Manley Street, so we get interest-free on the PFAS, is that what so if we were to put PFAS in here, would we get interest-free on that? Would we tie those two
If you
together?
make the SRF.
So yes,
So that's something.
You can't tie the two together.
it would be,
That's
we're kind
PFAS
of,
and PFAS?
kind of lost that opportunity at
different
this point. Yeah. We just don't have time to get it in without giving up the 10.7. And then we weren't on the IUP for this year, so then you're putting it off another year to apply. So you'd be doing nothing here until, you know,
Okay,
2 cycles from now.
disregard.
Yeah. Yeah, something we did talk about, you know, probably 9 months ago, but even then we were looking at the schedule of having to pilot, and, you know, we just didn't feel like we had enough time, even 9 months ago, to try to shoehorn PFAS into this project.
That was the other, I remember something, I'd asked you about the piloting for PFAS down here. I remember early on you said something about that.
Yeah, so I did include that in
Oh, it's
the
in the
middle
numbers.
piece. Yeah, that would be the, you know,
All
pilot.
right. So we won't be able to pilot until we fund the whole project.
I mean, you won't be able to pilot until you appropriate $180,000.
But would have to, that's not included in the,
Right.
that 6.7.
It's not, exactly, it's not included in the 6.16.
Yes.
That'd be a separate one we'd have to go for.
Right.
Maybe they'll raise they'll do all kinds of testing, figure the health effects aren't as bad, and they'll raise the
Right.
limits up in here.
We're up to 20, perfect.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is talk that the regulations could change too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With
down.
respect to PFAS, but,
Or even push it out.
or push it out, yeah, so, I mean, we just don't know. It's too new.
I mean, considering we've been drinking PFAS water all of our lives, and we're still,
Oh, no, there wasn't PFAS around most of your life.
I think you're a little older than me there, son. But that's the case, so here it is 60 years later, and I'm still here.
It's because everything slides through.
Well, because they could still manufacture it, which doesn't really.
They just
make
changed,
sense.
that's why there's so many, they
Change
just
one of
change
the
it.
numbers
Well,
and
no, yeah.
it's something different now.
So the other thing is, with electrical installations, they have the Manley Street, the instrumentation part. Mike is no longer part of them.
I heard, yeah, he went to Waterline or something, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't say where he went. I mean, I still have
He
a
went
bit.
to work for, yeah, one of those companies.
He's for an electrician. Because I have a whole pile, I've got boxes of PLCs out there for Manley that never got installed. But electrical installation owes us that because we paid for it.
Right, so that they're gonna have to provide another individual to install.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, it won't be Mike.
Right. Then when we do the plant here, the PLC that sits in there that everything communicates with, that's an old Allen Bradley. It's as old as this building, I believe. So it needs to be replaced.
Okay.
Quick, on those bottom two boxes, your construction, well, not so much the fourth vessel, but CNO and PFAS, is that 2.7 escalated out, a few years out, not just the,
Yeah, so the cost was, the engineering are just, you know, straight percentages at this point. So. it's
yeah,
probably-
but the actual, like the construction, the 2.7 million, that's assuming construction a few years out, not or is it
I'll
just
have to check what year that
current
was.
numbers?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think that's projected out to 2027.
we probably should project.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should know, because once we decide, we go for that.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
all right, we can do that.
Any questions for him on this stuff?
You know, I'm just in sticker shock.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of that.
And then the other thing is, this building gets its water from right out there, which is gonna become a raw water line.
Yeah, so I will send you, we just went through all of this with Alex, he's very turned around trying to figure out where things are going. So you're getting a new water service.
All right, so it's already in there.
Yeah,
We actually had that on the original, I thought the plans before, one of the sets that had all the yard piping and stuff going on did
yeah,
have.
I know
a
we
new tap.
changed it since 60%.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen the latest. I think it was, we made some adjustments to make sure we had 4 log. Because we need our sampling point to be at that location. So,
How far out do you figure 4 log occurs? Because there's
So-
people we might have to jump off of whatever line you're on.
well, our finished water line doesn't have any services till we get out to the corner shop, is our understanding.
Is it the transite one going up there?
I'll send you the GIS figure we put together.
I know of 3 people, or 3 residents, that were tapped into the 12-inch instead of the smaller one, because we always thought we'd be abandoning the other one. One of them occurs right here at the top of the hill. So we can tap them, or we'd have to run up the street and tap them.
So the line that, so you have a line that kind of comes through here, 4 and 5 come together, and then that line goes out. That's the line that's gonna be, end up being our finished water line.
All right, I'll have to look to see whether we're
So-
on Station 1's line, or, because there's 3 lines up there.
Right.
It's confusing at best. And then throw in a gas line.
Yeah, I'll have to go over that with you, see if we need to move any
All right.
services. And previously you had said you'd do that before the project, is that still your intent? You
Yeah,
want
we'll
that?
jump them, yeah, we'll go out, we'll go after it this summer.
Because if you need us to carry that on our plans, we're currently not doing it.
All right,
So if
yep.
you won't, okay.
I've got a new kid who says he's not afraid of holes.
Sure, we'll lose him in his first week.
Yeah, that is something that
That won't be a
going to
problem.
change,
Right,
phase 1 versus if you eventually do PFAS, then we're talking about maybe having to do a remote monitoring location for, because then your 4 log is gonna be too far for us to grab here and bring back to the plant, but it's a PFAS problem.
So something that we can push a few years down the road. Hopefully. Is there anything else you want to slap us with?
I think that's plenty.
We have to meet on pre-fall.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. So the other thing we've been doing is, the pre-qualification process. So the good news is we had plenty of interest in all of the
all
trades.
trades, yeah.
Good.
Wayne could tell you.
There were tons of them. Some showed up, there's a couple, can I just throw these out? They showed up after the
After.
bid date.
Wait,
Yeah, throw 'em,
Yes.
you don't even open
Yeah, you
it.
can't.
No, I want nothing to do with them.
Yes.
yeah, I'll just write down who they are so that if they pop up later and say, how come we weren't pre-qualified? That I can just say, oh yes, you were voted. As opposed to like, no, you're not here. So we've done all of our reference checks for everybody who submitted a package. And we've done a rough cut of our scoring. So the next step is once we finish doing our QA/QC on the scoring sheet, would be to have a meeting with the selection committee essentially, talk through the scoring, make sure we're all on the same page. We did have one item that came up that's a bit of an anomaly that we have to just agree as a committee how we want to address it. But the important thing is that when we're reviewing these packages, they submitted financial information that's confidential. So it can't be a public meeting like this when we go through it. So I don't know how we want to, go about scheduling that, but.
Is that something new that that they have to disclose their finances?
So it's part of the pre-qualification, so because our project is over $10 million, it's an additional, requirement.
Well, if the selection committee isn't the full board, then we don't have to do it in an open meeting.
Okay.
The only time it has to be an open meeting is
If
if
there's two of
any
them.
two of us are in the same room.
Okay.
So if it's like Wayne and myself, we can have a separate meeting.
Okay.
Or you have to be in the committee because you're the.
Well, I was gonna say, I have to be
So
in
you have to
anyway.
be there anyway.
So if I'm there, if neither of these two gentlemen wants to be involved on the selection committee, we don't have to have an open meeting,
Okay.
which would make more sense. Anyway, and again, I have to be there because of the OPM for the project, so.
Yeah.
And Wayne needs to be there because he's gonna be dealing with everybody.
I heard the shovel's going in the ground 2027.
Plenty to do before we get there.
So we'll be reaching out the next week or
Yeah.
so, once we finalize our QAQC to set that up.
Does that limit the qualifies? Does that, I mean, if they're gonna have to financially expose themselves, I mean, is that?
So, I mean, so it does limit in terms of only those who are pre-qualified can bid on the project.
Yeah.
It also limits them because they need to be able to show that they can do a project of this size and type.
But doesn't the bonding company have, I mean, the bonding company reviews all their financials when
Well, but
they,
this is part of the funding requirement.
Yeah, so it's similar to, like a DCAM project where they have to be, DCAM certified, right? This is just.
all right, okay. So we're essentially, we're DCAM qualifying these individual, a DCAM or another agency. doesn't
Same
qualify.
idea, but yeah, essentially,
All right.
we are going through the process to confirm that they're all qualified to do the work. And then they can bid
And
on
we're
the project.
qualified to qualify them about financials?
Yeah,
All right.
There's different criteria
Yeah.
where they get points, like safety, financial, management capabilities. So they provide us with that information that we look at and say, this meets our, our metric on this.
or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, then you're not dealing with trying to throw them out after the bid, which isn't fun, because I had to do that.
Then if you disqualify someone who was previously qualified on another job, and then they're gonna sue you guys, and then sue us.
That's why you go through the process.
It's all above board, right? It's all,
Transparency?
it's fully transparent, there's nowhere to
Oh,
hide.
it's
so,
transparent, all right.
Yeah.
The good thing is, we did get a lot of
Right.
people interested, so we're hoping we get those contractors that aren't gonna chase the $35 million job, because they don't have the bonding capacity to do it. So that's, at least our hope is we have enough of those contractors that will chase, and we had a lot of people submit as evident. We had a lot of options, so that's good. I mean, that's at least good that
better
there's
than
not
one.
2 contractors that are that will be pre-qualified, because that's, as you know, a tricky situation if you don't really have competition.
Yeah.
It's never a good thing for bidding.
If you're the bidder, it is.
If you're us, it's not.
Yeah, but we're more concerned about this end.
I know.
And you think, what, a couple weeks for that?
Yeah, I think we should be done for QQC within a week of today. So, yeah, we'll probably be looking to schedule that in a couple weeks.
Because we want to be ready to go, when everything's cleared up, when we do want to bid it.
Yeah.
So that we're in a position where we can award it by June 30th.
Should probably put it on our agenda for next meeting to appoint you. To the
We've already appointed me as the OPM. Do we have to do it separately the OPM is on the committee anyway?
Oh, okay.
So we shouldn't have to, actually. We'd have to appoint one of you if you were doing something like that.
No.
We have to appoint Wayne. We'll have to talk, think about it, and maybe deal with it on the agenda if we have to. How many would you recommend on the committee for it?
I'm trying to remember what we assumed. I mean, I think they recommend typically 3, and 1 person being from procurement, but I don't know that, you know, the town's procurement office works with you guys when you're actually going out to bid or not.
I think that's David.
Yeah, you could ask him what he thinks about it. I'm sure he's looking for one more thing to add on his.
That'd be fun.
Okay. I'll give him a call. Yeah, because we wouldn't get Scott or anybody like that involved for something like
No.
that. All right.
Any good news?
I mean, I think the meat club thing is good news. Like, I know it's a pain, but, you know, I think it shows that, you know, the project's the right project and people see the value of the project and, you know, could have been a nightmare and it's only been a bad dream. So,
Keep knocking.
I know. I'll be more optimistic once the February 14th goes by and we know exactly what we're up against. That really does open up the schedule then for us to hit our deadline, you know, our goals of getting into DEP,
Yeah.
you know, early March is what we were targeting.
Because they won't take it on a pending
You know,
results of anything for something like that. You have to have that certificate, period.
Right. That, and at the same time, we're gonna have to do our local permitting. You know, I missed, Tim, was
Tim
that?
Hay.
Yeah, he attended the meeting last Monday as well, I forgot.
Okay.
Concom agent. He just wanted to kind of listen in, so, because eventually he's gonna get our stormwater report.
Yeah.
As part of, you know, our local permitting. But we're gonna have to go through planning, right? So,
Yeah.
I think they indicated this time we weren't gonna get off the hook, so.
No, but I don't think we should have any real issues.
Another positive thing, we don't have BABA.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's an acronym I
It would
learned
be a
tonight.
nice positive thing to get that info out of Adage, though. Anything else
Yeah.
about that they have on that media.
Yeah,
That's,
You know.
what's that again? Buy American,
Buy American Build.
build American.
Well, building in America.
Right.
It's more the certifications on that. No one knows how the certification process will work with the shop drawings. It's always something new. It's
Yeah. Well, just moving forward. So we're gonna have,
so when is your next board meeting? Do you know?
Tuesday,
February 18th.
yeah, day
Is it
after.
Tuesday?
It is.
Yeah,
So February.
it's Monday holidays.
18th.
2 weeks from tomorrow night. You wanna swing back in and
Well, I'm saying, depending on how the new stuff comes in, you know, and what,
Yeah.
if anything, we've learned from Adage by then, I might be, you know, when he's coming to see you guys again sooner than later, so.
okay.
I'm sure you guys missed me.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're starting with you. Hadn't seen you in a while, so we figured.
This explains why. Wellness club.
Just hiding.
We're the ones that are gonna be hiding.
Yeah.
Now let us know if you want support at the town meeting. We're more than happy to come along.
Yeah.
Come on by. Is it free? You know, well, free, you're not good. Is there a cost associated with you guys attending that meeting just in case?
Co-presidents don't charge hourly to the jobs.
Oh, co-president.
Still gonna have to talk about how that works sometime. But we'll see. I mean, it seems like sometimes having someone else there doesn't help. If
Exactly.
it's someone from outside. But but Pen, we'll talk about that between now and then. Do we know what the date, we have no idea on the date of the,
Yeah, I
Do we?
put it on the calendar, but I can't see it right now, but
okay.
it's early in May.
And when are the warrants coming?
So capital is going in, I forget, I just received the thing, so she's asking for it now.
Okay.
So that the numbers make it.
All right, is that all you need
Yep.
from us? Is that number? You don't need
Yeah.
language or anything?
No,
Okay. Well, if you, ahead of the meeting, want any talking points or bullets or reminders of,
Yeah.
cost-saving measures that led to the
Well,
higher
we'll
costs.
be talking multiple times between
Before
now and
that,
then,
right.
so, yeah. But, it is a good, we are spending some money now to save some money for
Right.
future that
It
we
helps, and
know.
that's such a little, it's not
But
just.
still, it didn't just all go up because the initial one didn't have enough money in it. It's- We did add some stuff in there.
it's
And
not
the cost
a
of it.
fancy architectural building either, it's another space metal building.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it's
we're
another
not-
metal building on a
Concrete
concrete
slab, yep.
Yeah, it's not like we're sitting here with a ton of things we can, not even sharpen the pencil, but sort of go to something cheaper because
Yes.
we're not, it's not like we're trying to make something that looks like a historic building or anything like that. It's just metal building in the woods,
Exactly.
basically. No? Unless we have anything else for them, we can. oh,
James, would you mind kind of giving me a breakdown of the money that we spent at Manly versus how much we got in, like, grants and any forgiveness that we know about or any?
So the existing man?
Yeah,
So
how much of our ARPA money went to that? Because I know we borrowed 3.9. Wayne got 658
Right.
from Clean Water Trust, but I'm just trying to think about the positive spin of, we had a $4 million plant and it cost us this so far.
Yeah, that's a
It
good
might
idea.
be,
Well, it's not really 3.9, it's above that. That 3.9 number is just because engineering costs couldn't be included. Isn't the number 4 point something million?
Yeah, I'll break it all down. If you wanna
yeah, I
include
just want
engineering and
to see it all in
everything.
one place because it's been trickling in one thing after another. We might have 3% here, we might have, principal forgiveness. I just want to be able to
Yeah.
look at it all in one shot and
Right,
see
okay.
what we're looking at.
Yeah, I'm sure this chunk has the principal forgiveness, the
Yeah.
low interest rate, this is what you got from ARPA.
Because I remember we split up ARPA in a couple.
You did, right.
Things, so I'm not even
Right.
sure at this point what went to Manly and what.
Yeah, because to award that one, essentially, we had to say, we're gonna use this funds just to pay for construction, and then we're gonna
Right.
take, the ARPA to pay for the engineering, and then the ARPA is there to cover any additional construction. So, yeah, we have all that documented because we had to get DEP to sign off on the award.
Okay.
So I can just pull it all together at the table, so it's easy to
Thank
follow.
you. Appreciate that.
Anything else?
I'm all set.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you
very
for
much.
coming in.
Thanks, guys.
We'll
See
be,
you guys.
we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
We will be.
Yeah, I'll see you either the next meeting or the one after, depending on
Yeah.
how
Just
quickly we
as
get
soon as you
answers.
know when you're starting to think about that committee meeting,
Right,
give you a heads up, and I can kind of look ahead on the
Okay.
calendar.
Yeah.
perfect.
Good luck with the new hire, too.
Yeah.
It's exciting, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time we've been fully staffed. I think,
It never lasts.
right?
I'm knocking on wood tonight.
Well, hiring's
Sort
the
out.
first step, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least you have them in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving along, yeah, review and approve the February commitment.
I don't have it because I had an issue with the printer, but I have a piece coming tomorrow that I have to replace.
So we'll move that to the next meeting.
I'd actually probably need it signed this week if anyone's available.
When are you gonna have it ready?
I can have it ready by noon tomorrow, if the part comes in like it's supposed to.
You're technically supposed to vote on it,
Okay.
though, so.
I don't think it stops anything if it holds off till the next meeting, right?
I don't, she likes it signed like the way we bill.
I,
When it comes out, it's actually like committed in January, because it's like January total, so
Yeah.
I'm committed, but if that's all you can do, I'll just let her know, I'll give her a heads up.
Yeah, but it wasn't, if it's not ready, it's not ready. Again, we are technically supposed to vote to accept, but look at it and do it, not
Right.
just
Right.
come in and sign that individually. Okay. Do that. Review and approve the office manager contract.
so I didn't kill a whole pile of trees, I can print out more again. I mean, it didn't change from the last time.
This is the one that we had before. the last-
Yes, yep, it hasn't changed at all.
And that includes. And that includes the stipend for those
Yes,
3 projects that have been added
yep.
that we voted on last time. And we will go to,
I think I added one, I'm not sure if it's on hers, the M37 water audit. I just wanted to do one because when you do the annual report, you have all the data to pump into the, so I wanted to do that because we've plugged some serious leaks, so I want to get that as a baseline.
right, we've seen that before. Now, see this again? It's the same one that,
Yeah, same one we said before.
if nobody has any questions
Yeah.
about it, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
We have to sign this tonight, I believe.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I can change the dates again.
Might as well get it done with you.
It's not, I mean, eventually before we get to town meeting.
Let's do the 3rd.
Yes.
And this one. John Kuzma.
There you go, it's official.
We should have adopted it.
That's my other brother.
Okay. Okay, review and approve water superintendent contract. But we already had that discussion and
We're just running my contract
you're
now.
gonna just go through on your contract, no
Yep.
changes. Okay?
No changes, all right.
Don't do anything with that. Any other new business? Hearing none, we'll move to old business. Appeal of the ZBA decision is still ongoing, nothing to report. Unless you have anything to add, I think we've heard enough on this, the different projects at Manley Street and Sierra Norman, stations 1, 2, 4, and the Station 3 study. I think we've got plenty of information from James on all that stuff tonight. Did you have anything else, or?
No,
Okay. Communications Committee?
So Kerry sent an invite for training on February 13th and the 27th of this month on the new website for Revise. And then-
that's what's on the calendar. I can't, but what the heck is this?
Oh, that's the
Yeah.
training we had.
and
Oh, I don't have to go to that.
we're expecting to launch the new website sometime this month or early next month. And then I talked to the chief today,
Which chief?
Chief Tebow, who launched Rave.
Yeah.
And he said that there is a week-long, pretty intensive online training for Rave that right now he's going to be acting as point person for Rave. So if you have anything that is, at this point, until we set up guidelines for what we're using it for, just anything that's health and safety related, like emergency. And then
Emergency water leaks?
emergency, like if there's some kind of contaminant in the water or something like that. That's the only, hold on. But that's, right now what they're looking at using it for. And I mentioned to them maybe being able to use the part of the app where you could section off a neighborhood to alert them or something like that. And he said that's gonna have to come from the Board of Selectmen. So I will talk to them and see what our guidelines are gonna be to use it. But for now, if you have anything come up, you can reach out to the chief.
Okay.
You say, or indicate how many people have actually signed up?
I think less than they would like.
That's, people ignore stuff. It's-
Yeah, but I think once,
But a lot of it has to do with the age too, older people don't like all that stuff. There's a lot.
Yeah,
I think once people start getting alerts, people say, how'd you know that? And
That might get it to
might
kick
get
up.
it going.
Anything else?
That's it.
South Elm Street service leak? That get
So-
fixed?
a contractor did contact us. He's looking at it, but he hasn't moved.
Okay. So, it's still leaking.
Yes.
Have we talked to the homeowner?
He's received his bill by now, so,
And we haven't heard since his bill went.
no.
Okay.
Okay, well, hopefully it will get, that will get things moving. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I heard about that.
Yep. Well, you can't miss it coming through the
No,
snow.
not about the leak, about somebody else actually going over and looking at it. Because originally he was talking about digging it up, hand digging it over a weekend or something.
Yeah, that's not gonna, it's, even the guy who did it, it's like he has a mini, like a teaspoon machine. I'm like, all right, you're gonna do that in a day? I'm not sure about that.
All right, well, hopefully that gets done, so that's all you can do. Zoom drain repair bill,
A new revised bill will be coming soon.
the other issues are taken care of,
Oh, yeah.
very good. Fire alarm panel on Manley Street,
I did sign the contract with them to do it.
Fire Eagle,
Yeah, they came out and looked again just to make sure they didn't miss anything. And they didn't. And he talked over with chief, the fire chief,
Yeah.
about things. And we're all good to go.
and they've been good with everything we've been doing so far, so.
Yeah, they were a lot, when we switched to them, like, we were paying like $500 for them to come up and replace a magnet out there. So when we switched down, it was actually better. I mean, obviously, these guys are growing, so costs are gonna go up. It's not like having,
No, but still, you have at least there's a local presence that.
Right. Yep.
It's not like you're dealing with a giant company. Okay. Anything else?
All right, I did get a price on an F600. I stepped up from the F550 because we really, when we work a water leak, we kind of overload. I got a price back, but I have to get a better price. Before I chased Tom down, I knew about the PFAS pilot that hadn't occurred, that was out there in the wind, which can be pushed off too. So I didn't push Tom yet.
Okay.
So I'll push him again if we're gonna continue forward on that.
All right, we have to get, nothing else, get the numbers together and
Yeah.
have something to look aside to, because use that with the free cash.
Yep.
All right, nothing else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting.
6:44.
Well, we already said the next meeting. Yeah, officially, yes, the 18th, right?
Yep.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none? Go home.